Hi everyone, this is Hybrid Miranda, and today we're going to learn how to shade in bulk. So what does that mean though? That means instead of making a bunch of careful little gradual lines, what if you're in a hurry? What if you're doing gesture drawings? You're in animation class, you only have a minute per gesture. How do you get those shadows in? Well, that's what we're going to learn. Let me grab my sketching brush and let's make a few gestures. So imagine we have our character coming right over here. One leg out this way, one leg out this way, and they're reaching for something desperately. Oh no, something's gonna happen. Ah! But there's really dramatic lighting. The lighting is just whoom, 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 coming from this angle, and you want to be able to show that. Well, first I want to clean this drawing up a little bit. Lay your feet down. Always remember, plant your feet. This one can come up like that. Looks like he's pushing something. Remember, draw your sack. I know that sounds funny, but if you're drawing a person, you want to draw them like a flour sack. Because our torso shape is actually very similar to a flour sack shape. Look at that. Looks like a happy chubby guy. We are just flour sacks. So remember that when you're drawing a person for the torso. The flour sack. I'm going to keep repeating it over and over again until you guys get it. Anyhow, so I have this person here, and he's dramatically, or she, or who knows, is dramatically reaching out for something. And so you know, if you lay out the shape of the face and the body, you have their midpoints right over here, but you want to show that the light source is just beaming. That's the wrong way. You want to show that the light source is, damn it, you want to show that the light source is just beaming that way. So take your drawing utensil first of all and put it sideways so you can get a thicker method of drawing, a thicker laydown. And shade in just the darkest, solidest parts, kind of like cell shading in a way. The way I'm deciding where this goes is that the human body in this situation is kind of shaped like this. It's like a tube. It's being bent in the middle, but generally it's a tube. And its center line, and I did a video about laying out a grid, and this is very important. Its center line is coming right along the edge. This here exists right over here as well. And so this bright light shining down is hitting across that center line right there. And so that's the same thing on the body. Now the leg too. Let's break down the leg. Center line right there. So shade everything after the center line. And same thing down here. Center line, except it's a calf, so there's only a tiny bit left. So that's bulk shading right there. Now what about the face? Same thing. It's a sphere. Shade it just like it's a sphere. And what about the arms? The arms are moving away from the light in perspective. So you're going to get a bright highlight running along the very edge, but then you're going to get shading along all of the rest of them, just like that. And you can shade in the other arm even darker to show that it's away from you in perspective. So bam, just like that. And with this leg, this interior leg right here, you're going to get a bright highlight along the edge like that, but everything else is going to be pretty much shadowed. So you just fill that in very quickly. And suddenly, look at that. Amazing. We have bulk shadow extremely fast. And now you just whoomph, lay down this other shadow coming here. And remember, calculation-wise, bam, bam. Technically, this shadow should be extending a lot further. And maybe we have a little bit of an opening in the legs. But other than that, that's about it. It's a very simple concept. The trick to doing bulk shading quickly for gestures is A, knowing the shape of the body you're working with. So I'm gonna sketch out this guy. Make him proud, a little bit of contrapposto right there. So knowing the shape of the body you're working with. And knowing what direction to shade with. So again, our little proud guy here, we're going to use the same light source. Maybe he's standing away from him in perspective. See, this is the line of perspective this guy's standing on, and this is the line of perspective that guy's standing on. So he's a little bit further away. So his light source is going to affect him differently. But so we know that his leg is a cylinder, this leg is a cylinder. There's our center line for the cylinder, center line for the body, center line for the arms. We don't even have to worry about the arms. So then, let's grab our original color again. Excuse me, sir. We know that the shadow can be bulk laid in right here, bulk laid in right there. That arm is going to be in the darkness. This arm is going to be halfway shaded. And then same thing with here. And this leg is coming forward, so there's going to be a little bit of shadow cast on the other one. Bulk shading, immediately. Now, what I want you guys to do, and we can do this as a bit of an active lesson, is I want you to grab a pencil, and a paper. I should have said that this at the very beginning. You guys need to grab a piece of pencil, and a slice of paper. And I want you to draw along with me, because we're going to do some of this right now, right here. Let me import a few pictures that we can work with. Okay, so here we go. I have to kind of use all of my drawings because I don't have any licensed images I can show on YouTube, but these guys have strong poses and it'll be good for what we're doing. So this is Kateru. He's from the Saga for Pirantina stuff, which is, again, linked down in the description, but that's besides the point. This is Kateru, and we're going to draw him. So, quick drawing of the pose. You're going to see he has his beanbag right here, or his flour sack with his hips. There's a very strong curved motion coming from here. This is his line of action and his line of intent. They're very similar in this situation. So you're working with that. This leg comes directly out with the calf and the foot. This one comes the other way, calf, foot planted. Bam, just like that. So draw along with me. Come on, guys. Draw along. And head coming this way, pointing in that direction. Arm coming out here and downwards with the hand right like that. And we have this one coming here and aiming like that. So this is the shape. I'm going to give you guys a hot second to catch up because I've been doing this for a while. I'm just going to put in some other details and some other guiding lines. So what about his light source? Let's put it directly above him, since we're doing bulk shading. Now I'm gonna choose my secondary color as this amazing bright blue. And so, again, we have his center line coming down this way, and the center line of his leg. But in this situation, you want to imagine initially, where are my shadows going to fall? Now, inversely, we can imagine, where are the highlights going to happen? I'm losing all my colors here. So, highlight-wise, I'm going to make this the color. You're going to get a bright highlight along this arm. You're going to get a bright highlight along the head and the neck, maybe around here, and then this entire leg is sticking out. His body is covering it to a point, maybe over to there, but other than that, his leg is sticking out, and you're going to get a highlight along the other leg. Maybe along this hand, and maybe, considering if you look at on the original drawing, it looks like his arm is sticking outwards a little bit. So you could actually change this entire pose. If you add the highlight over here, suddenly his arm is sticking out this way. If you don't, it's hanging downwards. Isn't that cool? You have the power to just adjust it that quickly. For this sake, we're going to have it sticking outwards, like in the original drawing. And then maybe a little bit of a highlight over here, but I don't want to push it too much. So now that we know where the highlights are, we can go in and we can put in the shadows. Remember, with the bulk shading, try to use the side of your drawing tool. Just get in there. Just put it in, just like that. There's going to be a darker shadow, and it's going to move upwards a little bit because that's how lighting works. And you're going to have a dark shadow coming over here, and on the bottom side and where his hand is. You're going to have a dark shadow here, and then a darker one around his groin area, because that's where the two folds of anatomy are pinching inwards, and then a little bit lighter here, a little bit lighter here, because that's where that surface area is from. It's going to be pretty dark along the back shin, and a little bit dark along here. Bam! Look at that. Amazing. We did our first one. I'm going to make a new layer, and we're going to move on to our second gesture, which is, again, Kateru. I guess he volunteered himself. So in this one, this pose will be a little bit more difficult because we're not working with any large curves. His posture is pretty straight up. So in this one, I want you to make sure your feet are planted, and remember where his flour sack is. I'm going to accentuate his body a little bit. So this is going to be his back. This is going to be his front. And you have his shoulders coming over here. See how I did these curvy bits for the shoulders? That's a very easy way to make his shoulders. And so remember, you got his flour sack here. It's folding a little bit. Got his head is pointed directly towards us because he's pissed off and he wants to make a point. And then one leg coming down this way, and I like drawing my legs as little ovals, and then it comes straight down, plant one foot. This one's coming down this way. I'm actually going to change his posing a little bit for this. And then if you look at how I aimed this, you can change the angle of a leg just by aiming where the I don't know, the seat of the crotch, but that's kind of what it is. Just aiming that particular line. We could make this really confusing, and we could aim it this way, Now it looks like his legs are going backwards, but that's why we aim our line that way. And so we got the hips, the groin area, we got the body, we got the arms. So let's quickly put in the arms here. Got your shoulder, bicep, elbow, right there. I got the bicep, I got the arms, and the other arm coming out. So he's trying to make a point, obviously, in both of these poses. Now this one is a pushed pose. If you look what I've done, I've really pushed this leg outwards, I've pushed his body inwards. This follows something that's called cadence of curve. It comes just like that. Essentially, cadence of curve means that your body follows a kind of snaky path. For every curve that goes outward, there's one right next to it that's going to go inwards. Remember that because you'll get more dynamic posing. So here we have this particular pose. And for this one, let's have the light source come from this direction. Nah, I should let you guys finish the sketch. I'm sorry. I'm going a little bit quick. And again, we're going to work with highlight, low light. So this highlight is going to be bright yellow. Okay, so in this situation, your highlight's going to be running along this side of his body. And then again, right over here, and coming down this way. I'm very fond of this drawing, so I'm actually going to do the lighting on a layer above. So you're going to have the lighting coming from over here, and from over here. It's going to run down along the side of his leg, and especially on that calf, and fade a little bit downwards. It's going to come on the side of his face, and on his neck. But if you look, there's not many other places it can really hit. Not really. It's pretty one-sided, this lighting. Maybe a tiny bit on his opposite calf, but that's about it. That even looks like a little bit too much. Now we're going to work with a shading. I'm going to choose a medium turquoise for the shading. And so you're going to get your dark area over here. It's going to lighten a little bit, and remember a little bit of dark beneath the knee, and it's going to come down. And then more shading right here, and straight down like that. And it's going to come that way. It's going to come that way. And see how quickly I'm just shoving this shading in. There's nothing to it. Just quick gestural shading. And then, bam, again, look at that. We have the generalized idea of where the shading is coming from. Let's work on number 3 now. Number 3 is difficult because we're working on Rin-Tin-Tide. And Rin-Tin-Tide has a complicated body shape. Look at the way he's posturing himself here. So we're going to take a little bit more time to do this particular sketch. You can see that a lot of his movement is coming, well, you can barely see that. A lot of his movement is coming this way. But he has this crazy leg here, which is causing some perspective problems. So first, like usual, let's work with our flour sack. He's pushing out that way. His hips are like this. Center of his body is running right along like that. Remember, we have one shoulder here coming down, the other shoulder is behind there. See, just putting this line in front of that line pushes that perspective outwards. It's all about communication. Now his head is down a little bit because he's looking down at you. Big, strong chest here. And then, we'll do perspective in another video, I promise. But for now, just work on the fact that this is his shoulder, this is where his elbow is, and this is where his hand is. If you put these 3 circles right in front of each other, it pushes the perspective a little bit, so at least it's a little bit more understandable. And I'll just put in a few lines there. And just connect these, connect that. Then I'm going to bulk in his massive, strange alien pectorals. And the same thing with the leg. We're going to have to do that. The same thing with the leg the same thing we did with the arm, we're going to have to do with the leg. So his knee is raised all the way up here. And you get the leg on the outside coming and meeting up with the knee right over here. And then you can put the calf downwards, like you did before. Then gesture in an angry foot. And then other legs coming out just like normal. Put your knee there, a little bit for a calf. Bam, just like that. So this is decently close. I pushed this pose again because he's being very, very, very dramatic right now. He's very mad. He's about to get captured by the gods that he's been trying to fight against for a long time. And of course, this is spoilers for anybody who's actually paying attention to the PIRANTINA stuff, which is linked below. Okay, so we have the general. Why am I so tempted to put in his little clawsies? You kill me if you hear me call them clawsies. We have the general shape right now. And in fact, you can't do this traditionally, but I kind of want to bend this wrist to show the tension that he's pulling away from something, because he's getting pulled that way. So curling that wrist inwards is actually showing the dramatic tension of the fact that he's getting pulled in multiple different directions. But that's something we don't have to worry about right now. All we want to worry about, I'm probably going to put this on a different layer again, all we want to worry about are the shadows. Now for this one, let's try something different. Let's light from underneath. Crazy Disney bright green light. You know something's evil in Disney if it's green. And so bulk out your highlights just like that. You can see his knees pushing forwards because the light is hitting so much on it. So that automatically shows the viewer that that shape is coming forwards in perspective. And go like that, and then all the way on the bottom of his hand, on the bottom of his arm, on the bottom of his pectorals, on the bottom of this arm here, and maybe a teeny bit on his chin. Although if you put that on the bottom of his chin, that means that his head would be jutting forwards from his body, when in realism, his head is like right there versus being forwards. So let's not actually put that highlight there. And now we're going to have to do the awkward thing and highlight his crotch a little bit, and maybe a little bit of his belly. This is a bit more of a feminine figure than he has. But that's okay. He'll be fine with that. He's cool with anything. And then right on the bottom of his foot. So we have that. What about the shading? Shading in this one's a little bit weird, but I'm sure we can do it. We'll be just fine. We'll use a complementary. I'm going to use a dark purple. So a very dark highlight coming right along there, and lift it up a bit, because I'm still imagining there's a little bit of light coming from above. So we're going to bulk in our general shading for there. Dark line coming a little bit lighter, and since this is a crease of skin right over here, we're going to bulk that white in. We're going to bulk the shading for that in and raise it a tiny bit as it comes up, and maybe a little bit of shadow over here to show that there's a rib cage. And then again, bulk that shading in and then raise it up as it comes to the edge. Bulk in here and raise it up as it comes to the edge. Bam. I'm mostly done right here. This is a little bit of a complicated one. I decided to give you guys a pain in the butt one for the last one, because I'm evil. And then right there, the fisty, the face. You can put in the eye shape, and maybe he has a mouth, so put in a mouth. He looks confused. Look at this guy. He looks confused. And I'm gonna put those shapes in just so you can tell that that's actually a hand coming towards you. Still doesn't look like a hand. And there. Now, if we want to be super duper extra, we can take the yellow and we can give our character a highlight on top. But that's also being super duper extra. You don't have to be super duper extra. Sometimes you can overdo things and it doesn't look very good. I've done that way too many times. I've overdone so many drawings that I don't want to even admit to it. Bam. Weird drawing. So that's the last one. So that's how I bulk shade. I come up with my object. I turn not my finger, that would be weird. I come up with my object. I come up with my gesture. I turn my pencil onto the side and I judge where the most of the shadow would go, and I immediately just shade right into there. It's a little bit weird doing this with an Apple Pencil, to be honest. Yeah. Just quickly think in your mind, where is the bulk of my shadow going to be, and put it in. Don't worry about the details. Remember, you're animators, you have to do this super duper fast. And if you work with that, if you work with your super duper fast model, and you only have a minute, because sometimes we had to do gestures in 30 seconds or 10 seconds, that was crazy, then you have to be able to do these really fast. So just think, where is the most shadow, and get it in quickly. Okay, guys, thank you so much for bearing with me on this one. It was less formal than they usually are. If you have suggestions for more tutorials you want, please comment them down below. And if you look in the description, I already have a list of ones I'm going to do. Thank you guys so much for listening. Hope you learned something. Take care of yourself and have a good day.